Jennifer, I want to start with you on what Illinois Governor J.B. Pritzker said yesterday in his latest back and forth over the president's plans. Let's listen.
It's clear that in secret they're planning this, well, it's an invasion with U.S. troops if they in fact do that. And the other thing is, they ought to be coordinating with local law enforcement, but they don't want to do that either. And I must say it's disruptive, it's dangerous, it tends to inflame passions on the ground when they don't let us know what their plans are and when we can't coordinate with them.
His use of the word invasion, is that how you see it?
Invasion, no. Look, I don't like these National Guard deployments. I think that they should come with an invitation from the governor, as is historically the case. In the case of D.C., it's a little more complicated because it's within the president's power to do it.
This month since they've been deployed.
I've been here all summer, Scott, except for the last 2 weeks. So I live here in Washington.
So since National Guard's been deployed?
Yeah, but the bottom, you cannot sit here and tell me that I don't know how it's affecting my community that I've lived in for a very long time.
Here's what I'm telling you. I've been walking around here all weekend and every week for the last several weeks since they've been deployed. Here's what I've seen. I've seen extremely friendly National Guard members having extremely friendly interactions. I've seen them pose for numerous pictures. Other than a few soreheads out doing protesting who tend to protest everything, I think they have been extremely well received from my observations, and they've been quite a bit. I've been here for most of the last month.
Use of our national.
All right, buckle up for this one. The immigration debate is hotter than ever. It's not just a political issue anymore. It's a full-blown controversy. Illinois Governor J.B. Pritzker stirred things up when he called federal actions in Chicago an invasion. Yeah, you heard that right, an invasion. Things got tense during a CNN panel where political commentator Scott Jennings wasn't having any of it.
And I think that the problem is it's one of these sort of Baptist and bootlegger problems where you have, this is great for Pritzker politically, and it's great for Trump politically. To argue about crime, to argue about invasion, and all these kinds of things. I just don't think it's a wise policy.
You were smirking when you were listening to him.
Well, look, surging federal agents, ICE, CPB, to a state that has over 500,000 illegal immigrants in it. Many of them live in Chicago. I mean, the federal government is going to enforce federal law. I hear Pritzker complaining that there's no coordination, but I also heard the mayor say he's ordered the police department not to cooperate with federal officials on this immigration crackdown. So how are you supposed to cooperate if the mayor is ordering his own police force not to do so? The fact is you have people in this country illegally. The president has promised since he was running his campaign last year that he planned to crack down on illegal immigration. He's sending federal agents to Illinois to do that. I'm not entirely certain why everybody is so angry or surprised about this. I mean, we're here enforcing federal immigration law in a city that we can argue about whether it's a crisis or not, but there were 53 shootings there over the weekend. It's pretty violent.
We should also be clear. They were talking about sending the National Guard in long before they were talking about this ICE operation. These two things have now become merged.
He's saying they're on
about to say this. What is it? What is happening here in Chicago? First, it's about crime, if you listen to Trump. Now, apparently, it's about immigration enforcement. I mean, when you are talking about, no wonder people are confused, no wonder people are alarmed, because if it is not clear what the purpose of these kinds of operations are, people are going to assume the worst. I mean, here in D.C., apparently it's about crime, except most of what we've seen has been immigration enforcement. Now you're going to move to a U.S. city, Chicago, where apparently it is about immigration enforcement if it's the president, but it's not. It's about crime. Like, what are we talking about?
Are they one of the same?
Jennings came out swinging with a calm but forceful rebuttal, cutting through the noise with facts. He challenged Pritzker's framing of the National Guard, deployment, and the immigration surge as an invasion, arguing that local leaders can't have it both ways, blaming federal agencies while refusing to cooperate with them. In Chicago's case, he pointed out the contradictions. City leaders criticize the federal government, but at the same time create policies that block ICE cooperation. Jennings called it hypocrisy, saying you can't tie federal hands and then complain about lack of coordination.
If you're in the country, you're a criminal.
No, that's not the same thing.
What?
That's, it's a civil offense if you cross the border.
Oh my gosh.
No, but wait a second. You are trying to make. You are trying to say that anyone in this country illegally is some kind of murder or killer. Crime is a different thing. Shootings, muggings, the things the president talks about are different than immigration enforcement. Those are two different things. They're dealt with by different groups of law enforcement. They are two different things. To conflate them is disingenuous.
I don't know why they all need to be
Hold on, let
dealt
me just
with.
jump in because you talked about immigration and then you brought up what happened in Chicago over the weekend. Those are two different things. The 53 shot in Chicago over the weekend, that is true. And on that note, ABC News had this headline: 53 shot over the weekend in Chicago as governor rejects Trump's threat to send in National Guard. If you look at it through the crime prism here, what do you say to people, Adrian, who see that headline and say, well, maybe this isn't such a bad idea?
Well, I think, look, here's what's happening. I can at least speak to what's happening here in Washington, D.C., where I've lived for the past 30 years. Yes, crime is an issue.
He went deeper, connecting Chicago's high crime rates to weak enforcement policies. Jennings stressed that not every undocumented immigrant is a criminal, but when cities refuse to work with federal authorities, it creates loopholes that shield dangerous offenders. That, he argued, hurts local residents most. To him, the problem isn't compassion, it's chaos caused by political games. He also highlighted that past presidents, both Democrat and Republican, have deployed federal resources in moments of crisis, from Eisenhower in Little Rock to Bush in Los Angeles, yet somehow when Trump does it, critics call it authoritarian.
Another topic before we run out of time, because I think it's really important, and it's on the immigration front, about these Guatemalan children who were woken up in the middle of the night, put on planes without seeing a judge. Jonah, what do you make of this?
Yeah, well, I think it points to the schizophrenia of this issue broadly that we've already been talking about. You ran a clip of Kristi Noem saying, we're going to continue to go after the worst of the worst. And then the other part of this story is, okay, so you're going to send a bunch of these kids back to Guatemala. Are those the worst of the worst? I think the messaging is sort of all over the place on this. On the merits, look, I am willing to believe that pretty much everybody is trying to be a good faith actor to some extent on this. It sounds like the Trump administration followed what a judge told them to do. It sounds like the judge said you're not dotting all the I's and crossing all the T's. Sending some kids home who shouldn't be sent home, or sending some kids home who should be sent home, it's complicated and difficult. I just don't like this sort of, oh, it's Labor Day weekend, let's get these kids on the plane as quick as possible.
The judge, for her part, said she was surprised by the timing of this.
I mean, when I talk to immigration attorneys, I've covered immigration for a very, very long time. And what they will say about this iteration of the Trump administration is exactly this. What you are seeing is the flouting of procedures, people being sent to places without due process, lawyers trying to get in touch with their clients and being absolutely unable to. It is a black hole of a system, whereas before that was simply not the case. You need due process, especially when you're dealing with children. You cannot have children suddenly being put on a plane in the middle of the night on a weekend and not have their lawyers being apprised of this, not having any kind of sense of them having oversight by a judge.
Are you comfortable with how this was done, Scott?
So we're for child separation from their families now. We used to be against that. Now I guess we're for it. Here's what happened.
CNN then tried to shift the discussion toward emotional stories, spotlighting reports of children being sent back to Guatemala in the dead of night. Jennings didn't back down. He clarified that those transfers often happen under international law, with Guatemala itself requesting family It's not about cruelty, he explained, it's about following global norms that prioritize reuniting kids with their parents. That's a side of the story CNN left out, but Jennings made sure viewers heard it.
These children have people,
Kids came here during the Biden administration.
These children have family in this country.
And their parents are in Guatemala, and the Guatemalan government.
Not all.
Not all.
As you heard, the 10-year-old little girl who lost her mother, and then she said she was abused in Guatemala and came over. It's more complicated than just clear cut. They'll have parents in Guatemala.
These children were abandoned here somehow. They've been, sent here for some period of time. They're trying to reunite them with their families where they're from, with a government that has asked for their return and wants to facilitate their return. This all happened under the Biden administration. Now a Biden judge is trying to keep them here and to further this policy of keeping them separated from the families that they have in Guatemala. Everybody's upset about this, and I don't know why. They're trying to reunite them with their families.
But are you comfortable with how it was done? Right? I understand you're taking the administration's line on this, but woken up in the middle of the night over a whole.
In the end, Jennings made his message clear. The immigration crisis needs facts, not feelings. He argued that emotional narratives might dominate headlines, but real solutions require honesty, enforcement, and accountability. Instead of political theater, he called for practical cooperation between federal and local authorities. Whether you agree with him or not, his argument hit hard, and it's sparking serious conversations nationwide.